everybody. Welcome back to the Be That Lawyer with Fretzin podcast. We are rocking and rolling, 400 plus episodes. I'm writing for Above the Law. If you haven't checked out my columns there, that's pretty cool. And just continue to try to pump out great content for you, the lawyer trying to get ahead, trying to scale, trying to, make the best out of your career. And of course, I always bring on the best guests. And today is absolutely no different. How you doing, Chris? We got Chris Dreyer waiting in the wings.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks a lot, Steve.
Yeah, we've had kind of a nice long history together of being on each other's shows and collaboration. And I think, and you're now one of my main sponsors, which is awesome. You guys got to check out Rankings.io and of course PimCon, which we're going to talk about soon enough. But I'm just excited to have you back. And of course, we're going to start with our quote of the show because that's what we do here. And it is this: to me, ideas are worth nothing unless executed. They are just a multiplier. Execution is worth millions. And that's, of course, the brilliant Steve Jobs. So, Chris, welcome to the show and talk to us a little bit about why you love that quote.
That quote to me is everything. When you talk to someone, they're like, "Oh, I had that idea for Amazon. I had that idea for the business." And the real challenge is execution. I think Steve Jobs, he's the epitome of this. Like, all these brilliant people have ideas, but who's going to roll up the sleeves and do the hard work to get it executed and cross the finish line?
Yep. Yeah, it's the beast. Execution's the beast. A lot of people want to do business development, want to grow their law practice. It's great to want. It's great to dream. But again, it's making a decision today to do something, and then of course execution and discipline. I think we got to add in discipline there of how to be consistent and do things in a way that's going to get the job done. Otherwise, again, it's just a dream. Goals are just dreams that are written down or something like that. I forget that quote. That was another quote. Um, so really, really great stuff. And you're someone who executes. I mean, that's as I've met you, I mean, between your podcast and all of that, you're just someone who's continually demonstrating how to execute. So kudos.
Yeah, I think that's how you learn too, right? Execute, iterate, improve. I had the saying, quality comes through quantity. It's really true. Like, you have to put in the reps to really learn and understand, the practice.
Yeah. The I think it was Alex Hermosi always talks about two groups of people that had to do like, I think it was like they were in some kind of like ceramics class or something. Like, one group was given the task of creating the coolest, like the most impressive like bowl or something like that. And the other group was saying, hey, make as many bowls as you can. And which one comes out better? And the ones that had to make many, many bowls, those the ones, of all different shapes and sizes, they ended up with the best looking bowl because they just had all that extra experience versus trying to make something perfect the first time or something. There was some iteration of that type of thing, but I get it. It kind of goes in with what you're saying.
Yeah, couldn't agree
So,
more. I think the
yeah,
podcast too is tremendous, right? You do these interviews, acts as a feedback loop. You get to learn from other people's experiences.
yeah. Yeah, and go back and listen to the first, 10 episodes you've done and 10 episodes I've done and the ones that we're doing now. Very, very different exercise.
Yeah, please
In
don't.
how they're, yeah. Yeah, don't do that, everybody. We're not proud of those early episodes like we should be. So Chris, I think it's your second or third time on the show. I'm so happy you're here. Give everyone a little bit of background leading up to where you are today, and then we'll dive into some topics.
Yeah, so I've been doing digital marketing for 16 plus years, and I started off doing affiliate marketing, basically selling other people's stuff for a small percentage. Then it started consulting for business owners, started consulting for solo practitioners and small law firms. And then basically that led to starting my agency. This is 2013. We've been at it for, like I said, 10 plus years. We work primarily with personal injury attorneys. I think for the most part, it's because of how competitive it is. It demands expertise. If you're the only trademark attorney in a city, you could rank just by the nature of being the only one. But as we both know, when you drive into a city and the amount of billboards you see on the side of the road, that
Yeah.
there's real competition, they need an expert.
Yeah. And again, I think without having someone in your corner that really knows the space, it can be a very expensive endeavor.
Absolutely. In my opinion, especially on the search engine marketing side, one of the most challenging things is link building. And link building, by and large, is relationships. It's the hardest thing to do. You got to create content, you got to meet their editorial standards and their approval, and it's just all the tactics combined. And that's what really separates the good agencies from the bad in the SEO space, in my opinion.
Yeah. And is since we're getting kind of down to it, I mean, is SEO for everyone? I mean, is that going to benefit everybody, or is that going to benefit certain types of people, certain types of lawyers and different types of practices?
I love this question. It's a great question. I think that if you're a litigating attorney that doesn't have a low case selection or high case selection criteria, meaning that you're not willing to take soft tissue and volume, it could be challenging to go after ranking for terms like car accident lawyer and personal injury lawyer, because one of the ranking factors under the category of prominence is review count and score. So the review count, the quantity matters. So if you're a large B2C advertiser on TV, radio, search, digital, you're gonna and you have that high case selection criteria, so you're willing to take, a wider range is what I mean. You're gonna have more opportunities for reviews than if you just litigate and you're a very small pool. So it just depends on who you're trying to market to. If you're trying to
Yeah.
originate your own cases, then and you're willing to advertise, then it could be for you. But if not, I would do the B2B play for referrals.
Yeah. I mean, my concern is someone who is a lawyer at a big firm, or a lawyer who, recognizes that to do SEO and the amount of content and quantity and in time that it's going to take, that they're late to the game, for example. They're just thinking about it now. And there's been people in the space for, they're going to show up on page 60. And then to get up to page one could take, how much money and time. So I'm just, and that's where I come in, right? So like, let's focus on relationships and business development and other means of creating and getting content out, maybe on social media, versus trying to play the game of SEO when you're not really going to ever get where you want to be at the expense of time and money and energy towards it.
I couldn't agree more. And by listening to this podcast, when you go to Facebook, you're probably going to see an SEO ad that's willing to charge $200 a month. But reality is they're just not going to have the capital and the production requirements to rank, especially for personal injury or family law or criminal defense, some of these, more competitive practices. And that's just the reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say one thing, that line, that race that you mentioned, there's a lot of bad players in the mass tort space, so you got to protect yourself. But that race could start, for a new drug or a new lawsuit. It could start tomorrow, and you're at the same starting point as everyone else. That's the difference than competing with a firm that's been around for 30 years for trying to rank for personal injury or car accident lawyer.
Yeah. So getting in early, like if you identify something that's coming up the pike, or you identify something that just happened and you can get in early, that may be the time to get in and start writing and having content and links and things that are going to help you, versus, hey, car accident, Chicago. I mean, where am I going with that? Right. I mean, that's not gonna play out
A
in
lot of
SEO.
capital.
Yeah. Um, the other issue with SEO, I mean, maybe similar to LinkedIn and Google even, right? Is, well, I guess that they all kind of fit together, but is that there are changes happening all the time. I mean, algorithms change and everything. So what worked for me 5 years ago to rank may not be working now. What are kind of a couple of the main changes that have occurred in the last year that you could just share with everybody that might be interesting?
I think the biggest one that we're really facing right now is content marketing strategies are changing. A lot of the top of the funnel content is now eaten up by the AI overview section. So in the past, we took a top of funnel approach down, right? The awareness piece, and really, but now it's kind of reverse, and we're taking a bottom of the funnel, targeting practice areas and essentially the attorney's sales pages up, because that real estate's gone. It's the traffic's just not there. Now, there were zero click scenarios with rich snippets in the past, but now it's completely gone with the AI overview.
Okay. And what kind of content is working best? Is it video content? Is it with transcripts? Is it articles? Is it just getting great links? Is what's kind of the play that Google is looking for now to say, hey, you're the authority. We want to put you closer to the top.
Google really likes brands So that's one thing. They
Okay.
really like uh, the signals and clicks to a resource. So if you have a video that keeps a consumer on the page longer, that's a good signal.
Okay.
The thing is, in the past, you could write an article on a topic, and just by the nature of being the first person that wrote it, you would rank. Most of those evergreen topics have been written. So now you have to think about, how am I going to take a different approach and be different? Maybe you take the Department of Transportation, who's always 2 or 3 years behind on their accident data, and you're the one that goes cleans it up. And we've done that in certain markets, and you're the resource as opposed to, other individuals that, now you're being cited from the media.
Mm, okay. Well, that's really interesting because I mean, I'm creating content on a regular basis, video, podcast. I'm thinking about a fifth book. There's all kinds of stuff, articles, things I'm doing. And I always want to make sure that when I'm putting them on my website that I'm going to get value and I'm going to get credit for that. Are there
Mhm.
any tips about how to do that effectively?
Yeah, let's take a podcast. I think having a transcription of the show is a good idea because it gives the guests something to reference and
Okay.
link to. It's a good way to acquire backlinks naturally. I imagine if we threw your site in the Ahrefs, and all these transcripts probably have a ton of links, and that's going to contribute to your SEO. And so I think the main point I'm trying to make on the creative side, when I say creative, I mean the copywriting, the quality of the video, the hooks, the story, the compelling information. It's so much more important now because of the competition and all those entry points of just write an article and it's really basic. You can't do that anymore. You got to put more emphasis on the creative, which is the quality of everything.
Okay. And then does also Google pick up on the ChatGPT created stuff so that that may hurt your ranking or not really?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
So they'll filter it out
Okay.
on certain things that if it's too similar to other content on your website or out on in the search results, they're not going to give Google's spiders the ability to crawl those pages. It's just, so that's where you have to emphasize backlinks and those endorsements to get Google's attention that something's changed, to get it crawled again. The web's too big. In 2016, there were like 6 trillion web pages. That was 2016. I have no idea what that number is now, but it's astronomical, and Google
Yeah.
just doesn't have the ability to crawl every single landing page at all time.
Right. Right. Okay. Got it. Got it. Well, I mean, that's something I wanted to kind of pull out of you were some things that have changed and some best practices. And the other thing, I know you've got this amazing PimCon coming up. And before we get to that specifically, um, there are a lot of marketing, business development, and straight up business conferences for lawyers every year. I mean, I don't know if you have an idea of like how many there are a year.
A
I'm sure
ton.
it's dozens, maybe
Well, we
more than
went to
dozens.
30 legal conferences, and probably half of them had some marketing component
Okay, okay. So
a
there's
year
legal
ago.
tech, right? But then there's a whole other category of marketing, business development, and just general business.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it's hard for lawyers to sort of understand which ones make the most sense and which ones they're going to get the most value out of. Um, and so what are your kind of like how would you suggest lawyers approach the various opportunities that exist out there to find the ones that they're going to actually either learn the most or make the most contacts or get the most value from?
Such a big question, and I think you're the perfect person to answer this genuinely. It's like you're gonna
I do have an
get,
answer, but I thought I'd dish it out to
yeah,
you first.
you're gonna get the most out of the conferences you put the most effort into.
Yeah.
It I think National Trial Lawyers, the one that launches in January in Miami, is a phenomenal conference for trial attorneys and PI. And the reason, in the last few years they've had it at the Lowe's has one central bar with a ton of seating where everyone congregates, whether you drink or you don't drink. I mean, it's just a very nice central location. It's very easy to network. I've been to other conferences where it's so fractured. It's like some people are hanging out there, some people are hanging out there, and it's more, especially for an introvert like me, it's harder to stir up those conversations. I think it depends on your goal. Like, look, if you're wanting to be a better trial attorney, like check out TLU. If you're wanting to network and see what's new or hip or whatever, Bob Simon's got some great stuff. His Lottie Graw marketing initiatives. You're looking at anything Michael Mogul's putting out is going to be top notch in terms of quality, but I think it genuinely comes down to you, though. If you go to the conference without the right attitude, without willing to put in the effort to get something from it, it's just not going to be beneficial.
Yeah. And the thing that I want to continue talking about those conferences, but the way that I think about it from a business development perspective, there's plenty to learn. So if you're going there to learn as one of the top elements of why you're paying the money and going and traveling or spending your time that way, I mean, that's number one, is you want to go somewhere where you're going to learn things that are going to help you improve your life, improve your business, whatever. From a networking perspective, I think it's important to, in business development perspective, it's important to consider, how are you planning for the event? Are you just going to show up? Are you actually going to like go through lists? Are you going to see who's attending? Are you going to talk to the conference people to figure out like where's the best value for your time, for dinners, for the drinks, for the things outside of the presentations, right? The educational side of it. So I think that planning piece is there. I think execution of knowing how you're going to, what's your infomercial? How are you going to, sit down at a table and immediately figure out of the 6 people, who are the 2 that you really want to spend more time with, right? Going around and learning about them. And the biggest mistake I think people make in conferences is they meet 5, 10, 15 great people. I mean, people that could do business with them or network with them. And those cards just sit on their desk for, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and basically it's done. If you wait that long, reaching out to those people, they're not going to really remember you. And it's not going to be as easy to get back into a flow of how we can work together, how we can do business. So I think it's sort of like a story. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And most people are going into conferences without thinking about any of those. They're just showing up and kind of hoping for the best.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. And I've been to many, and that's just reality of it.
Yeah. So like I'm part of Provisors, and shout out to Provisors, but like they have a group leader get together every year in October. I don't just show up. I mean, I make lists of the people that I want to meet, why I want to meet with them, what I'm going to talk to them about. I go there, I search out those people, I leverage people in the room to get me to the names of the people that I don't know, because I know they know them. And then again, I'm following up, scheduling meeting after meeting after meeting when I'm done, so that I didn't just throw away 3 days. I'm taking those 3 days and I'm leveraging it into, what 6 months of meetings in value. So I think that's a huge part of any conference, but I also like the idea of these educational business growth conferences. So maybe that's a good leading to talking about PinCon a little bit.
Yeah, you teed that one up for me, and I
I
should have
did.
mentioned that in terms of the conferences earlier. Yeah, so we're hosting a conference specific for personal injury attorneys, and it's September 15th through 17th, and there are a lot of different formats, right? There's workshops and panels and breakout sessions. We have a main stage speaker that we have selected. They didn't pay to get there, and it's someone in the discipline, right? So Dan Morgan, obviously Morgan & Morgan, the biggest PI firm. He's the keynote speaker. Alexander Shinara, massive, probably in the top 3 to 5 biggest PI firms. A Top Dog Law, James Helm, a Jen Gore for social media. These people are in the trenches, and that's what our conference is about. So it is about how to generate leads through marketing. That's it. It's not to be a better trial attorney or operations and things like that. Is about marketing.
Yeah. But if you're focused on having that main stage and giving top level education, top level speakers, there's still some soft skills like I was talking about that people need to keep in mind, that, hey, it's one thing to go and learn all these, the most amazing minds in the space, but you also, you need to set up your coffees, your lunches, your drinks, and really make sure that you're networking. Because if, the people that are coming, these are like personal injury attorneys from around the country, right?
Yeah. And Steve, I was really intentional about choosing the Phoenician in Scottsdale. And the
Okay.
reason I chose it is because when you enter the lobby, there's this long horizontal bar with a lot of seating, very, very lounge oriented. And it's like a central location that everybody's going to, because you have to pass it to go to the restaurants. And so it's like you go in, and to the left is the conference and to the right is food. So
Yeah.
it just makes it easier to bump into people. It's not, over in this place or that place. It's very centralized.
Yeah. Well, I think, the location is a big part of it. The lineup is a big part of it. Um, and so the people that are coming into this, what's their mindset? What types of personal injury attorneys? I mean, there's some that just, sit back and wait for the phone to ring, and there's others that are being proactive and want to grow and want to scale.
Yeah, I think this is the epitome of those that want to deploy capital, that want to invest in marketing and grow their firm. I think if you're wanting, I don't use this word negatively. If you want a lifestyle practice, and that is great, right? And you're happy and with your current volume and you got some good referral partners, then I wouldn't say this is the conference. If you're wanting to know the latest channels, the newest tactics for marketing and how to deploy your capital from a lead gen perspective, this would be more catered to you.
Yeah. And so it seems like a little bit different than many conferences that break things up quite a bit with lots of different breakout sessions in different rooms that you got to sort of pick and choose where you want to be. This is just like, hey, everyone's in the same room listening to the same top level players.
Yeah, it's been curated. And I'll tell you this. This is me being transparent, Steve. Look, there's a reason why there's panels and breakout sessions. Is because you get more speakers and more people talking about the conference.
Mm,
So from to market your conference, because there's, like you said, there's a ton of conferences. It's harder. You don't have as many people talking about it, so you gotta. There's challenges to that. But I wanted to be really purposeful and specific on who I wanted on the stage. I didn't want anybody that paid to get there. I want them to be invite only.
yeah. And you're looking for people that have a lot of value to share. So it's like you're drawing in people through the Venetian, through the quality of the speakers, through just the I mean, just as like first class versus it being, again, just kind of slopped together and geez, let's hope that people show up.
Oh yeah, I'm sure the speakers have been super annoyed about us on their topics and what their presentations and what's approved and what's not approved.
Yeah.
But I think you have to be. And I'm not, and look, I'm not trying to be super annoying to the speakers, but you want to make sure that they're prepared and they're ready to present and give value.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. So I think, what we're kind of just talking about is the importance of lawyers figuring out which which conferences are going to make the most sense before you spend the money. And for personal injury attorneys that want to grow significantly and invest in their business, this is the one to go. And then, and again, everybody would, maybe would say that. I think you're kind of more on line with it. But what are some of the things that you're hoping to get out of running this? So let's take it from the other perspective. You're the one that's running this thing. And what's
Mhm.
what are you hoping that people are going to say about it? And what are you hoping to be the end result of investing time, money, and energy and putting something this massive together?
I love this question because I don't think very many people would ask it.
It's
I'll be
not my
candid,
not my
right?
not my first 10 podcasts, Chris.
Right. The reality is we're all trying to get attention and lift your brand. And this is a new channel of distribution that I own, like the podcast. One of the reasons why I know you love it and why I love a podcast is because I own the distribution. I get to own and who's going to come on and what material goes out. Now, from a revenue perspective, anyone that tells you that they make a lot of money on the front end is probably lying. Um, there's not a lot of money made on the front end. It is very costly from F&Bs to the everything involved to run a conference. I mean, we're
Yeah.
talking, this is our first conference. We got $1.5 million in it right now. We're in the hole, right? Due to the advertising you got to spend to do it. But the true power is the back end. It's the relationships, the brand lift, the networking. If I happen to sell some retainers, I'm not going to realize that money out of the gate and break even. And so the real money comes on the back end.
Yeah. But you recognized it as not only good for today, but good for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And back to our original kind of quote of the show, you're executing on something that you believe and have seen work. And it's just a
Yeah.
matter of continuing that execution to get it done. And then if it goes well next year, do you keep this as, obviously rinse and repeat if it goes well, and that's
Mm-hmm.
the key.
Yeah, and I've definitely taken some of my licks. I've had the hard learning experiences, which comes through execution, and that I will definitely not do next year. But yeah, I equate this to, look, investing in brand is not immediate. That's really what this is.
Mm,
It is when you invest in TV, it's not like you're going to get immediate high volume out of the gate. A lot of times people tell you need to invest in TV for a year before you see a return. That's kind of the equivalent to a conference.
yeah. No, but you know what? Again, I think, when you put out something quality, you get good people there. They talk about it, the buzz, and then of course the potential for them wanting to work with you and all that. It all adds up. Um, so really, really interesting. So if people want to check out, I think we're giving a discount too. Like if people use the Be That Lawyer in the discount code, I think they're going to get some bucks off.
Yeah, if you use that coupon code, Be That Lawyer, it'll be $200 off. You can go to pimcon.org. That's PIM.org or PIMCON.org, pimcon.org, and check it out. But
Yeah.
yeah, all the details are there.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, let's also wrap up with our game-changing book, Ready, Fire, Aim, which I've heard about for years. I don't think I've ever read that, but I think they're making a point. So what's the point?
Yeah,
Because
Michael
it's Ready,
Masterson.
Aim,
It's
Fire. I'm confused.
yeah. It's so many. It goes back to my original quote. So I guess I'm putting myself in a box here, but it comes down to execution. Execute and iterate and change and improve. It's the biggest thing. But I do like what you mentioned. It's consistency. It's one of our core values at our agency is true grit.
Mm,
It's you gotta be willing to do it day in and day out to really build something of value.
yeah. So Ready, Aim, Fire, which we all know is the way that you use a gun, I think. But as we talk about business with lawyers, I think there's so much time spent on the aim
Hmm.
that they can get ready, but then the aim is like, then they get the analysis paralysis, their perfectionist kicks in, and they never execute. They don't get to the point where they actually fire. And that's why I think Ready, Fire, Aim makes a lot of sense. You don't want to fire too much and too crazily, but I think without the execution, as we go back to the beginning, there's where everything falls apart.
Yeah, it reminds me of like Gary Vee talking about, putting content on social media. It's like don't overthink it because you're not going to be good at the beginning, no matter
Yeah.
how much planning you do. And the Alex Hermosi, the pottery thing you mentioned. It's you gotta practice and execute. If you're gonna go out and play basketball, you got to shoot a lot of free throws and threes before you expect to be good.
Yeah. Well, and the other, as long as we're doing like a ton of quotes, the other one that I love is a Lombardi. I say this all the time. It's not practice makes perfect. It's perfect practice makes perfect. And I think what people do is they go out and they make the same mistakes over and over and over again, and they don't learn. They don't have someone kind of in their corner, helping make sure they're going in the right direction. And so therefore they just kind of, keep practicing improperly or doing the same thing over. Like networking is a great example, or going to conferences, right? I've been a dozen conferences. I never get anything out of them. Well, have you changed anything? No. Okay. Well, there you go. There's you're practicing conferences, but you're not improving the practice. So, um, awesome, man. Of course, want to take a moment to thank our sponsors, Chris Dreyer of Rankings.io, who we're talking to with PimCon. We've got Get Staffed Up, rocking it. Just get staffed up, man. A lot of people picking them to, be their full-time VA. And then, of course, Lawmatics, which I'm continuing to work on and use leverage for automations and grow my business and keep in touch with people, contracts, everything. It's awesome. Shout out to those guys. Chris, if people, I think we kind of hit this, but if you want to get in touch with you directly to hear more about Rankings.io, or they want to hear more about PinCon, talk to you about it. Maybe they want to be a sponsor. I don't know what they want to do, but best ways to reach you.
Yeah, the best way to reach me directly, just Chris, CHRIS at rankings.io. If you want to shoot me an email, happy to answer anything. Put in the subject line, Be That Lawyer, so I know where you heard me. And if you want to check out PimCon, that's September 15th through 17th, just go to pimcon.org.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. Maybe it'll be a little cooler by then as well.
I hope.
Because you could cook an egg real fast in Arizona these days. That's for sure. Anyway, wonderful. Well, Chris, thanks so much for being on the show, sharing your wisdom. I'm excited for PimCon. I think it's going to be awesome, and I hope that the PI attorneys, and again, if you're not a PI attorney, let people know about it. Don't be shy. But just thanks, man. I appreciate you coming back.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, everybody, for spending time with Chris and I today on the Be That Lawyer with Fretzin podcast, helping you to be that lawyer, confident, organized, and of course, a skilled rainmaker. Take care, everybody. Be safe, be well. We will talk again soon.